Hi, good morning. Happy Monday. Oh, it's the brand new week, the start of a new day, start of a new week. And thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Space Between. Today, we're going to be talking about ears wide open, the art of deep listening. And so, if we haven't met, my name is Michelle Lane. I'm a self mastery and universal laws coach, and I love helping you understand yourself and fall in love with yourself that much more so you know who you are, know what you want, and why you want it, so you can set your life in this beautiful pathway of desire and design and possibility and potential. So, thanks for being here. Let's dive into deep listening. I was pulling some cards this morning. It's one of those things I just love to do. And I came across one that talked about keeping our ears wide open. And when you think about that, and you think of it in terms of deep listening, it can be such a beautiful, powerful gift to give someone else when we're just available to sit and listen and not speak, but take in what's being said and be present in the moment so you can really hear somebody, really understand their perspective and not make it wrong. Just make it wonderfully available to receive. Because when we do that, so many more gifts open. And it reminds me that focused attention, that letting go of everything else, and the egos, especially the egos, need to be heard. We create space to have someone else see and reflect back to them what they can't always know about themselves. There's so much power in being heard and understood and not feeling misunderstood and not feeling unseen. In that beautiful space of not feeling insignificant and over-explaining ourselves for the need to be acknowledged. To be able to just be with somebody without having to correct them, interject your position on it, even interject that you've done the same. And this isn't coming from a space of that you've done anything wrong, but just perhaps an invitation to lending a deeper listening ear. My husband and I have been using the phrase yes and. And in using yes, it contradicts and replaces, actually probably a better word, replaces but. Because sometimes when we say but, blah, 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 it can infer that we're being wrong without consciously attempting to say that, right? It's this subconscious pattern that comes through. And when we replace the but with yes, and then an interjection of what else you want to add to the conversation, it becomes an acknowledgement to the other person that you're hearing what they say. I've heard what you said, I'm taking that in, and here's something else to consider, or here's another piece of the conversation. And we've had really great fun in this, and we've actually built a lot of play in our relationship around this. It's actually become more of a fun, not even game, but just we've made a fun play out of this place that can be uncomfortable when we didn't speak up or we didn't say what we wanted to say. And so when we have that feeling of being misunderstood or being not heard, it can become the challenge in all that we do, because eventually we tell ourselves it's not worth speaking up. It's not worth my opinion. It's not worth what I have to say isn't important. And we begin that pattern running in our mind, and it becomes everything that drives our actions, therefore. And so I offer today, what if we just decided to let all that go? What if we practiced offering our attention as the gift that it is for somebody? We chose those moments today to just listen. We chose to just be of service in hearing what somebody had to say truly deeply, not thinking about the next response, and just be willing to say thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience with me. And literally letting it be okay to just have someone have an experience without course correcting it or interjecting knowledge. There's always a time and place for that. And so often I found places in my life where I wanted to interject so quickly, oh my gosh, I'm so excited because I've had this experience and let me just share this with you. And it takes away the moment from the person who was sharing it with me. And so I've really been practicing, and I'm really grateful for being in this coaching space to be able to just listen. There's so much healing that can happen, and just having people voice what they often don't feel they can, or that they get to, or that it's even important to them. And something shifts in the body when that happens. There's this beautiful release into possibility. It's being the window, the mirror for someone seeing that part of themselves that they don't see yet. But also being able to hold the space for someone to feel into what it feels like to say the words out loud. It can often be a different experience than what we're hearing in our mind all the time. And when we do, we get to clue into some things we hadn't picked up on before. It's kind of like when you watch a movie or you read a book or even listen to a podcast, and there are things that you catch the second time around that you didn't catch the first. It opens your awareness, and you're able to expand that awareness by being open to receive information or insight or wisdom that wasn't accessible when we're so busy thinking of what's the next thing that's going to come out of our mouth to make us look intelligent or inclusive into that conversation, right? And so I wanted to just invite people today, like if you're listening in and you're willing to take the invitation, what if we take that into practice and notice within ourselves those places where we can be more present, offer a listening ear, whether it's to our kids or our spouse, our significant other, our colleagues at work, or just in general, reaching out to have a conversation just to be a listener, right? And what if in that moment, or in those set of moments that follow, we stop multitasking or checking our phones, or again, thinking of that next brilliant thing to say. We're doing all the things that keep us from fully being connected in that moment. And we let it go and just notice who we're being in that moment of the letting go, of the control that keeps us constantly moving. It's such a beautiful gift, not only for yourself and what you'll receive, but for the other person as well. I feel we're so fast paced in the world today. We're so on to the next thing. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. It's interesting to me, even in the posts that I scroll through, which ones I read, which capture my attention, and which I'm like, oh, it's too long, I don't even want to take the time. I think we're down to like 7 seconds of our attention span as humans. And even a couple years ago, it was 30. So we're decreasing. What is that doing when we come into resonance with a person, whether on the phone or on Zoom or in person? Remember that in-person connection? And so I love creating spaces for people to be able to experience themselves in these environments where we're not used to doing something different. We have an upcoming retreat, my co-collaborator, Emerald Norman, and we house women's retreats in Mount Shasta, and we come together in very small group. And right now it's beautiful because we can stay safe and implement all the things we need to keep ourselves distanced, but yet also out in the outdoors. And it's amazing, even through these last times, the connection that comes from knowing you're going to be actually speaking to human beings, and how connection deprived we actually are from this last year. And in creating the space to take away our distractions and be present, these women are able to find out more about themselves than they had learned prior to coming and stepping into that space. And so whether it's 3 days or 5 days, how often have you given yourself that opportunity to just be and experience yourself in a new set of circumstances, right? With other people you may not know, in conversations you're not normally having, out in nature where you get to quiet everything down and feel into your nervous system kind of like responding, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't know if I want to be in this non-busy place, but there's something that in each of us where that craving is there. We want to be still. We want to be a little more quiet. We want the chattering mind to slow down. And so often we're so used to programming ourselves to just keep going. All we hear in our mind are these connections, these thoughts, these consistencies. We don't even know what it's like when we slow down our nervous system into a rest and repose state. We don't even know what it feels like. We forget because the next thing's always there. If it's not our schedule, it's our kid's schedule or work schedule or the next thing. And we all had a taste of that when COVID first came in. We had a taste of the world stopping, and we kind of had to sit for a minute and go, whoa, everything I know, everything I've been doing just stopped. And we've been able to be with ourselves. And sometimes that showed up really great. And sometimes that showed up not so great. And it takes both of those pieces for us to experience ourselves. We're not our jobs. We're not our roles as parents. We're not our money. We're not all the things. We're not what we think that we are that define us. We're a human with a soul. We have this beautiful connection to our body, and all we spend time doing is want to take our mind away from the very thing that it's connected to. What if we instead learn to ebb and flow in this beautiful dance of our mind and allow ourselves to experience some of these feelings we'd rather experience versus the ones that are continuously present? That comes in conversation, that comes in experiencing other people. And understanding that we're all going through things and no one's account is different than anyone else's. And we're able to just be and receive the beautiful gifts that come from awarenesses and insights. Through the journey of being on like a solidarity journey with ourselves for even a short bit of time, to desensitize ourselves from the constant need to check the phone, the constant social media scrolling and comparing and judging that we go through. Our mind's going to judge. It's going to constantly be judging things, and it's going to be filtering through our experience. Why not create expanded experiences to expand what we're filtering? We oftentimes get so stuck in a rut. We feel like we're bored. We feel like life's mundane. We feel like we want something else, but we're not looking at our choices in our decisions. We're not even looking at ourselves and where we've gotten very comfortable being comfortable. And when we get to that edge, we teach ourselves how to fear it versus leaping into that unknown space to discover what's there for us and who we can be beyond what we thought was possible. I love bringing the experiences for people to experience this, whether in a group program. I teach Mastering the Brain Game. We break down all these windows of perceptions that we see ourselves in and maybe don't even know that we can see ourselves in. We access triggers. We acknowledge what triggers us on both spectrums and how they're useful in our emotional freedom. And I take pieces of these into other experiences. And so this has been top of mind for me as we talk about deep listening and ears wide open. Where just for today can we open our ears just a little bit more? Open our hearts just a little bit more. Allow ourselves to experience ourselves just a little bit more. And what is that one next thing for us that lead us to the curiosities that we're looking for? I'd love to know how this resonates with you. Thank you for being here with me live, and thanks for always tuning in and listening on replay. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you have the most fantastic week, keeping this top of mind for you. And I would love to hear from you and your experience. What was it like to activate your deep listening, expand your awareness, and keep your ears wide open? I'll talk to you guys next week.